All right, so we are now live. We've got Marquise in the house, and Nate will be here in a second. And so today we're going to talk about, this is going to be very interactive. And so if you guys have questions about anything real estate investing, we'll talk about it. We're going to talk about the two cash building strategies, wholesaling real estate and flipping real estate. Nate will be back in a minute. He does a lot of luxury flips. And then we'll end with the buy and hold strategy, which, in my opinion, that's the strategy that everybody should be doing. When we talk about building generational wealth, retiring financially free, it's your buy and hold strategy. And so, but then the question is, let's say you set a goal for one buy and hold a year, where's that money going to come from? And that money can come from wholesaling real estate or fixing and flipping real estate. That's where that money can come from. And so that's your cash building strategy. We have the two strategies because with flipping properties and wholesaling properties, that's active income. You wholesale a property one time, you just get paid that one time. Or you flip a property that one time, you just get paid that one time. When you hold property, is passive income. You buy a property, you get paid over and over and over again for the rest of your life. Could be for the rest of your children, your children's children. That's passive income. Marquise has mastered wholesaling. And so he started wholesaling almost like full time, like almost 10 years ago, has it been?
Yeah, give or take.
And so why do you like wholesaling?
I like it for the quick cash, to be truthfully honest with you. And the fact that also I'm a licensed realtor, so there's no cap on your commission. You make your own money based on how you acquired the deal. There's a formula called the MAO, maximum allowable offer, that says you purchase it for 65% of the after repair value minus the renovation costs. To eliminate all that, I just buy 50 cents on a dollar. So if a house is valued at $600,000, I can put it under contract for $300,000, which is maybe 1 out of every 10 homes or 2 out of every 10 homes. Once I get it under contract for 50%, I can wholesale it for 72%, 72 to 75%, depending on my end buyer. So those are my numbers. They don't always work for everybody.
So you're able to get people to do 50-cent deals? What area are you?
It's not every deal, right? Like I might have to vet 10 to 12 deals to get one deal. But I have a network of colleagues that I work with, other individuals, other wholesalers that maybe don't have an end buyer or can't move the product, right? The whole thing with wholesaling is you're in the middle, right, between what you agreed to from the seller to what you're going to do as the end buyer. The seller doesn't know that you're not the end buyer. So you're in a time thing based on your contract.
Mm-hmm. So there's areas here in the DMV, Baltimore, that you can find those numbers. Mm-hmm. And that's why, in part, Marquise focuses on Baltimore because the numbers are better. His profit margins are a little higher because he can find properties a little lower there. And so why else do you choose Baltimore?
Because I also hold the properties. So I wholesale for the capital to purchase the properties for long term. Baltimore's cheap entry point in the areas. It just works better for me.
For Baltimore County or city?
Both. Yeah, okay. both. So I prefer Baltimore compared to DC. DC, you have higher equity, right? But the tenant landlord laws, for one, for two, tenant gets in, hard to get out, from what I've experienced. Well, Baltimore is just Maryland. But the entry point, right? You can buy a house, a 4-unit apartment building in Baltimore for $200,000. You can get a 1-bedroom condo in DC for $200,000. So for me, I'm holding. I need the cash flow, right? I'm going to get appreciation, not equal to a DC, but I'll get appreciation. But my thing is cash flow. So
for someone who doesn't know the Baltimore area very well, yep, it's kind of iffy, some of those neighborhoods.
Definitely.
So how do you know? Do you just drive the neighborhoods?
Well, I've been doing it for quite some time. So my entry, when I first started, I didn't know, right? I'm born and raised in DC. Yeah. I didn't know Baltimore. And the entry point, even when I first started, was high, right? I couldn't afford it. So Baltimore, 45 minutes down the road. But I don't buy in the ghetto, quote unquote, right? I don't buy in the blue light districts. I don't buy liquor stores. have a very set criteria in which I purchase the property because I'm holding the property, right? This is part of my portfolio. So when I first started, I didn't have any of that information. I learned trial by error. I bought anything that was cheap,
Right.
but that's not, you're gonna get a cheap tenant, cheap problems, cheap issues, chasing toilets and tenants and issues, right? So over time, you grow, you learn.
So do you suggest just, for you beginners, just go in there and drive in the neighborhood?
I think this is where you're gonna put your money. If you're looking to purchase in Baltimore, you need to go and learn Baltimore. Ride, go get something to eat, go when you don't have anything invested, and understand the areas, right? All of Baltimore is just similar to the district. There's good, bad, and ugly, but don't get driven by the price. There's stuff in Baltimore for $10,000. Sounds great.
We don't want those.
Where do you pull your data and what marketing strategy?
I'm grassroots. I'm in Baltimore. When I leave here, I'm going to Baltimore.
He's branded.
No, I ain't driving around.
It's not that. So here's how I learned. Here's how I learned Baltimore, and this is how I want you to learn Baltimore. And so I asked a friend, and that was Marquise. And so Marquise got to Baltimore before I did, and I said, Marquise, what are the best places to purchase in Baltimore? And he said Bel Air Edison, 21213. And so I just started buying in Bel Air Edison, and then by doing so, I just started learning the city. And so now I pretty much, I'm not an expert. I don't know Baltimore like he knows it, but I would get referrals. And so I think that's a good zip code, 21213, where when I was buying there, you could buy for $40,000, which I did, in a neighborhood that, with no board ups, and fix them up, rent that property out. My first property, I was all in at about $70,000 between what I bought it for and renovated it for. And I rented out Section 8, which I love. And I think I rented it out for like $1,600. And now that property is worth probably, I don't know, somewhere close to $200,000. And so I would get referrals from people, and we can give you those referrals. But Baltimore, it's an urban city. It's too big just to be riding around. I don't want you just riding around and riding to the wrong neighborhood. And so get referrals. And so let's get back to wholesaling really quickly. And we'll answer all your questions. We'll let Nate speak as well. But for me, and I know Marquise, who's kind of specialized in wholesaling, it's just it's a great cash building strategy. It's low risk, and for you newbies, it's just a good entry point to get started investing, because you're not putting up really any money. You're not really using any of your credit. You just have to learn how to find deals. And if you don't hear anything that we say tonight, or you're only going to retain maybe 10, 15%, one thing that I want you to retain and write down is the name of the game is finding deals. That's the name of the game. And the investor that can find the most deals is going to make the most money, because you find what we call a deal. And Marquise kind of described it. We're generally buying at 70% of the after repair value minus repair cost. You find a deal, then you've got exit strategies. You can either wholesale that deal, you can buy and hold that deal, or you can fix and flip that deal. So there's exit strategies. And a deal, if you find that deal, you have no money, you've got terrible credit, you wholesale that deal. And there's cash buyers that will buy those properties. That's how you get started. And so you've got to center your mind around, and honestly leave here thinking, how am I going to find my next deal? Like, how am I going to find that deal? And that you've got to walk out of here knowing the answer to that. And we'll go over some marketing strategies, but that's the name of the game. There's flippers out here that know how to flip, and they're real good at it, but they're not good at finding deals. And so you've got to pride yourself on that. How are you going to find that next deal? And that's the name of the game. And so, Nate, you've wholesaled some properties. You still wholesaling? You've got a wholesale deal now.
Yeah, I think as an investor, like, you pretty much do everything. You would want to, like, rentals, wholesale, flip. But definitely, I agree with Greg. that it's a great opportunity to get in, at the ground level, not a lot of, money that you're putting into the game. So definitely I would agree. And the skill set that you're going to learn from like this group on how to find the deals, that's pretty much the number one skill set that you need to survive in any market. Because if you talk to any agent, any wholesaler now, the one thing that they say is inventory is low. So to Greg's point, he or she who's able to find the deals is basically going to be in control.
And that's the key. And so Dana, who's one of our coaching students, he's new or newer. I guess you're not new anymore, are you? 2 years. And so talk to us a little bit about how you're finding your deals, Dana.
Well, I do a lot of drive for dollars. I brand myself, and I make sure everyone that I know knows what I do. So that's probably that's been what has worked for me thus far over the last 2 years.
And you've been very successful in a short period of time. You've wholesaled a couple properties to me, and you've bought and held a few properties for yourself. What are the numbers in the last 2 years?
We say the numbers of property.
Yeah, just how many properties have you
So
held, and how many properties have you wholesaled?
I wholesaled 3, and I have held 4.
And you're just in the streets just looking for
When did
deals.
you start?
2 years ago.
Okay.
So it's doable. And so if Dana can do it, just look at Dana. He has nothing special. Nothing special about him. I can mess with him. But honestly, if he can do it, you can do it. We all can do it. Another key element, you guys, for wholesaling is once you find a deal, you've got to have a cash buyers list. You've got to be able to go to people, cash buyers. They're going to assign that contract to you. So you've got to start building a cash buyers list. And so
That can close.
Yeah.
Not just
You
a
need
list.
people that can close, people that you trust, people that you can rely on. You're finding deals, as an example, if you're finding deals in Baltimore, like we've talked about Baltimore, you need to make sure that you've got people on your cash buyers list that buy in Baltimore. Or if you're finding multifamily properties, you've got to have people on your cash buyers list that want to buy multifamily, and so on and so forth. And so the stronger your cash buyers list is, the more money you're going to make alongside of finding the deal. So I think the second most important part of wholesaling is your cash buyers list. And so Marquise, where do you get your cash buyers list from?
I'm not. I have a real small list. So and I made that statement to say that can close because you can build your list easily, right? You can go to the auction and get people that want to buy houses, but you need to be able to close if you're wholesaling. You get in the middle of a deal and can't close, your earnest money deposit or whatever you put up is subject to be lost. And most of the deals that you're going to find that are distressed, they're under a time restraint. You need cash buyers that can really bring cash. Sometimes you're wholesaling to a wholesaler that's wholesaling. You lose your value, right? You don't know what the next person can do, and so I have a very small list, upwards of 5 to 7 people that I know that can close, have been proven to be able to close, and we repeatedly do business. These are 2 of the 7 that I'm speaking about because we've done business before, sometimes in writing, sometimes word of mouth. So there's a trust factor there. Over time, you build that, but you don't want to just be willy-nilly giving away your contract and your deal because 1 is your name, 2, if you're a licensed realtor, it's your integrity, right? But these sellers, if you're buying a distressed property, it's distressed. They need it closed when you say you can close. So be mindful of the list that you build because you can get names and emails from anywhere.
And so Nate, what about you? I know you're a cash buyer, but you do wholesale as well.
Yeah. So this gentleman right here just dropped some major knowledge. So just to reiterate a couple of things. Number 1, he said he lets everybody know what he does. So everybody in here should have what's called an elevator pitch. Does everybody know? Anybody know what the elevator pitch is? Somebody want to tell us?
30 seconds, to tell you what you do, or to pique somebody's interest. Something
Exactly.
to pique somebody's interest, say, hey, what more?
So
Conversation.
if you're on an elevator, you should be able to tell the person on the elevator exactly what you do and what you're looking for in 30 seconds. And it's key because you got to let everybody know. Okay. So before you leave here, make sure you have your little elevator pitch. Hi, my name's Nate Joy. I'm a cash buyer. I buy in the Washington, D.C. metro area. I look for rehab properties. Anything you have, let's see if we could work together to make some money together. So that would be an example of an elevator pitch. Number two, to what Greg and Marquise was saying, you want to write this down. Your network is your net worth. So the more people you network with, the higher your net worth is going to be. I can tell you right now, like guys like this, their Rolodex is crazy. So you were asking, how do we find like cash buyers and stuff? You call a guy like this and his network is so huge. That's why he's able to consistently make money time over time. So remember that, your network to net worth. In terms of finding cash buyers, if you're real estate agents, the best way that I find is on the MLS, there's a tab that says cash buyers. So you go on the MLS, if you're not an agent, just hook up with an agent. And the great thing about that is that wherever your house is, you just go to that neighborhood. So I'm buying in 21239. I just go on there. I pull all the transactions for last year for 21239 and which ones were cash. Okay. Because to Marquise's point, everyone says they're a cash buyer, but really what they're saying is that they get hard money. And we know nowadays that hard money is not cash and that the deals are, falling through. So once you do find a cash buyer, you also want to get a proof of funds. And then that would be the final, step to reiterate.
So you want to build that list. And so you guys, Marquise, give them give them something, your phone number, your
You can call-
Instagram.
My direct phone number is 202-498-7222. That's my direct cell phone number.
Repeat.
202-498-7222. You can text,
and
call,
and they give them your number.
McCrimmon.
Yeah, and I'm Nate Joy, and my cell number is 917-309-8468. 917-309-8468.
And you guys know me, I'm Gregory Bennett. My information, it looks like my phone number is not on here, is on the handout, but my number is 301-351-4513. And so that starts you guys with the cash buyers list. That starts you. So there's no excuse. And if it's a deal, and if it's a deal in the DMV, one of us will be able to take it down and help you make money. Any questions about wholesaling, you guys? Go ahead.
For the cash buyer list, are we able to use it? Is it similar to, you said MLS, so is it similar to PropStream? We go on PropStream for the cash buyer list?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I have a question. So just trying to understand wholesaling exactly. So someone goes out, so we're like an intermediary, finds a deal.
Mm-hmm.
And we're looking, so we don't have to have credit, we don't have to have anything. So a private money lender, is that the end buyer and the cash buyer? I'm thinking of an end buyer, that's the person that actually takes hold of the property. If you need a private money lender, are you all that as well? Or you don't need a private money lender because y'all gonna buy
We're gonna buy it. We're gonna buy it.
it? Okay, I got it.
Yeah, and so let me just explain wholesaling really quick. Wholesaling is the act of finding a property. I said you've got to do some marketing. We'll go over that in a minute. And so you've got to find a deal. And then once you find what we call a deal, it's generally 65%, as a wholesaler, 65% of the after repair value minus repair costs. And so just write this down, 300,000. So let's say that the after repair value is 300,000. ARV is, once the house is completely renovated, what is it worth? What's the value? And so let's just say, for this example, the value is 300,000. We're going to take 65% of that, and that's 195,000. Then we're going to subtract out the repair cost. Repair cost, let's just say, is 60,000. So 195 minus the 60,000 is 135. That 135 represents your MAO, your maximum allowable offer. So you're going to offer, the maximum you're going to offer the motivated seller is 135. And so once you're able to put them under contract for the 135, you're going to find a cash buyer. A cash buyer all day long will take that deal at 70%. And so let's do the math. So 300,000 ARV times 70%, that's 210,000, minus the same 60,000, puts you at 150. I'm buying that property all day long at 150. If you're on the contract at 135, you just made yourself how much? 15,000. You just 15,000 represents your wholesale fee or your assignment fee. That's wholesaling. And so you've got to get good at the numbers. So you've got to practice those numbers. Now, within our coaching program, we'll teach you how to write contracts and things like that, how to negotiate. You've got to negotiate. There's two negotiations. There's a negotiation with the motivated seller. And then sometimes there's even a negotiation with the cash buyers. But if your numbers are on point, if your numbers are right, there's not much of a negotiation. You trust your numbers and you stick to your numbers, okay? Because Marquise is going to try to negotiate you down. Even though your numbers are good, he's going to try to, just because of who he is, he's going to try to negotiate. And so you guys, that's wholesaling.
So when you wholesale, do you have to subtract the repair costs?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm going to hear how Marquise, I know he's been in for 10 years, but how he goes about, he's a realtor and a wholesaler, how he goes about finding his deals on marketing for his deals.
Did you hear the question, Marquise?
I heard my name and finding deals. How do I? So I've been doing it for a long time, and I communicate, and I have a large network of individuals. So sometimes I get deals from agents, even other investors. I've gotten a wholesale deal from Nate that I wholesale, right? So it's being in that circle of like-minded individuals, and Barbara in the back. I don't know why she's not up here, but that's your deal finder right there. So certain people have niches, and they found out how to go get what we all want, which is the deal. The fruit is in the deal. Once you get a deal, you shouldn't have a problem getting rid of it, but you got to vet the deal, right? If you do the wrong numbers, you'll send it to Greg and you're too high. That means you went under contract with the seller at a wrong number. And for the most part, veteran investors or people that have been doing it for a minute, we're able to do the numbers in our head. You can go online to Redfin or any of the other algorithms and see real quick, right? In addition to that, you need to pay attention to the market, right? We're walking down now. We're no longer climbing. 2 years ago, we were moving, right? I could wholesale 2-3 deals a month. Now, you need a flashlight to find a deal because the numbers are just not there. The sellers want the retail number, but they need a renovation cost of $100K. You can't get it, right? So what happens is it goes to an agent, they sit it, they don't know the numbers, they high value it, it's not a deal no more. So if you don't know that, you're under contract, you've given an earnest money, you told the seller you can close in 21 days, you're stuck with a deal. The seller's hard pressed, they won't negotiate, you lose your money. So you got to understand the market, right? And what market are we in? Are we in a seller's market that's moving? Or we're in a market that is like, hey, hold on, I see numbers coming down, right?
So as when you first started though, were you
when I first started, I had no knowledge. I crashed and burned, right? I didn't know Nate, knew Greg, but I really wasn't locked in with anything. I was doing, I didn't believe in real estate for the most part. So when I took the leap of faith, I didn't have mentorship. I didn't have guidance. I didn't have anything that I'm able to tell you that you need today, right? So I crashed and burned, filed a Chapter 7 bankruptcy in 2010. Well, gave up 16 properties, right? Rinsed and repeated, because by that time I learned the hard way, okay? So I rinsed and repeated, came back, did it all again. Now it makes sense for me to do what I'm telling you to do. Like, I'll buy Baltimore all day in certain areas for a reason, right? And at a certain number. So you can shoot me Baltimore all day. I can tell you, I don't need to go down there. I don't need to really see it. I know the zip codes that I'm purchasing in. I know the zip codes that are up and coming. I also know the, excuse my language, shitholes, right? That is just a bait and switch, so to speak. A $10,000 house doesn't excite me anymore. It did in 2004, because I couldn't get that in DC. I knew the power of buying an asset, but buying garbage, you get a garbage tenant in a bad neighborhood, it's just rinse and repeat every 6 to 8 months. Then they break in the house and it doesn't work. But I had to go through that to get that, because nobody in my circle, I had a different circle, so they weren't doing what I was trying to do. So your network truly is your network, right? Who you associate with.
Now, as a realtor, you still have to disclose.
Yeah.
Whether it's on market, off market, you're disclosing that you're a realtor, whether it's an off market deal or not. And so for us, it's boilerplate in our contract. So you want to disclose.
And when you're talking to the seller, you're the buyer. You're not the wholesaler. I've seen wholesalers tell the seller they're a wholesaler. The seller doesn't know the difference. Like, it gets confused, and then you seem like a scammer. You have to literally, what most people freeze on is that I got to write a contract to say I'm going to give you $300,000. Make sense? Because if Nate is the seller and he's selling his house, and I'm coming to Nate and saying, hey, I want to buy it for $300,000, and Nate saying, okay, cool, that works, the number works. Can you close in 21 days? I have to tell him, yes, I'm buying it for $300,000. Not I'm going to go wholesale it to Barbara or Greg, because then it's like, well, why can't? What is wholesaling? And you're explaining to him that, oh, I'm making $50,000 for doing that. Doesn't work, right? But as an agent, you got a fiduciary duty. So me, I come in as the listing agent. I get the listing first, because how I was trained, you get the listing as an agent. So now you, in bare minimum, you have 6%. Get both sides of the transaction, right? But in addition to that, you can get a wholesaling fee. But you have to know the paperwork and understand what you're doing.
So that's how you do that.
Well, yeah, you have to do it if you're a licensed realtor. If you're not, you need people you know, like, and trust that we're all on the same page, because you're not disclosing at that point. You're doing the seller disservice. Make sense?
Yes. I just had, what you just explained to me is what has been my,
Barrier.
right,
Yeah.
because I couldn't figure out how to do it. So I just went on the list and looked.
Yeah. So don't list it, call me. I can help you.
Well, let me just clean this up for a second.
You might want to film later.
I'm always nervous when I have Marquise on the panel.
I'm telling y'all the truth, man. That's what it is. I mean, I think it's better.
No,
to
here's how you
understand.
do it. Here's how you do it. And so we're talking about two different things. We're talking about off-market deals that are not on the MLS, and then we're talking about properties that are on the market or on the MLS as a realtor. And so as a realtor, you can list a property. You can get a fee. It's not called a wholesale fee at that point. It's called a bonus. And so you can legally list the property, bring the buyer, and if it's a property that is below market, seller just wants to get rid of, it's below market, you know, an investor that wants to pay for it, an investor is willing to give you a fee for the opportunity, then you put that in writing, you disclose it to the seller. So both sides are signing an addendum saying that the buyer is going to give you a $10,000 or $20,000 bonus on top of the commission. That bonus is also put on the CD or the settlement statement, and everything is disclosed. And can a buyer give a listing agent a bonus? Absolutely, as long as the seller is aware of it. It's disclosed.
What if the seller says, why would the buyer give you a bonus?
It doesn't affect the seller side at all. So the seller doesn't care, but it has to be disclosed. And we're only talking about properties that are like that you list it and you put on the MLS. If it's a property, I had a deal years ago in Temple Hills that I went to do the listing appointment. I told her that I can list the property and I would probably get $200,000 for it. But if I buy the property, I would buy it for about $150,000. She said, well, I don't want anyone in the house. The house needs a whole lot of work. And I would rather you just buy it for $150,000. And so I wrote up a contract and I put in the contract that I disclosed that I was an agent, that she had the right to an attorney. I just put a whole bunch of disclosures in there just to save me. And it was fine. But as an agent, you've got to be careful on how you word things, and you just have to disclose everything, even if it's an off-market deal. You just want full transparency. Now, if it's an off-market deal, we're not necessarily verbalizing to the motivated seller that we're a wholesaler, because we're going to put in the contract, it's going to say that we have a right to assign the contract, and as the buyer, we put in the contract and or assigns. And so either I'm the buyer, or whomever I'm allowed to assign it to is the buyer. So it's all in writing. The safeguards you got. Okay.
Yeah. Good job.
I got to clean your stuff up. All right. Any questions on wholesaling? Wholesaling is the best way to really get started. But having said that, I love wholesaling because it's quick. I can get a property on the contract today, and Nate might buy it in 2 weeks. We just need, title ran. And so I love wholesaling. And then we use that money to build wealth, buying and holding. The other cash building strategy, there's 2 cash building strategies with real estate investing. The other one is flipping properties. Now, here in our area, wholesaling, we're probably down to averaging 10, 15. I do see some 20,000s. We used to, a year or two ago, see a lot of 30,000s. If it's a probate deal, we could see some 50,000s. But on average, I'm seeing my last wholesale deal was 15,000, which is like half of what I'm used to averaging, just because of the marketplace that we're in. Go ahead.
15,000. That's how much you purchased it for?
No, that was my
That's your
whole
assignment.
fee.
Your assignment fee.
Mhm.
Okay, so when you say you're wholesaling, you're letting somebody else buy it.
Right.
That's okay.
Cash buyer. When we're flipping properties here in the DMV, you're looking at, if you're looking at around 80,000, 100,000. So it's a high reward flipping properties, but what else is it? It's high risk. And the majority of the people who are flipping, especially the first time flippers, lose money. For one reason or another, they don't know what they're doing. They're either buying a property wrong, or they're getting the wrong financing, or contractor issues. And so, and flipping is almost an exact science. You got to know exactly what you're doing. But is the reward high? Absolutely. Can you make $200,000, $1 million on the flip? You can. And so, Marquise, tell us why that you kind of shy away from flipping.
Which is where I'm at in my life. I need retirement. So part of my portfolio is my retirement, right? So I want to accumulate enough assets, 1 for cash flow, 2 for long-term, for my retirement. I've flipped a few properties a couple times. Just not my forte. I want to buy and I want to hold because I need residual income. I'm tired of it. I don't want to chase deals selling real estate, number one. Greg used to say back in the day, or still says today, that selling real estate is a good career, but it doesn't get you wealthy. I want to be wealthy, right? And I don't want to work. I don't know how that might sound, but I want to work once and just keep getting paid.
Passive
so
income.
Cash flow and the passive income is what I'm shooting for. So I'll buy the house, update it, renovate it, do whatever, get me a tenant in it, and every 30 days, rinse and repeat.
Do you have a good management company?
I manage my own property.
You manage your own. Are you a managed company, or you just manage your own?
I'm a managed company.
Okay.
He's not going to manage your is that what you're asking?
I would say if I had a rental, I wouldn't want to manage.
Oh, yeah. Well, I manage my
I
own
just don't know if
property.
you have a network of people or somebody that you can go to for name your company?
Oh,
besides
okay.
the two?
Yeah. I don't manage other people's properties because most of the times I've seen, and it's not for everybody, they shortchange the renovation.
For sure.
So in other words, they just put a lipstick on a pig, so to speak, and then put a tenant in it and then hand it over and say, you know, they haven't changed the plumbing, they haven't updated the electric, they haven't renovated the property. They just cleaned it up and put a tenant in it that's going to pay, and then hand it to me or somebody else or a property management company and want us to do the work for them. So that's a problem for
So
me.
you haven't found trustworthy?
I'm not I manage my own properties because I've renovated them. I've vetted the tenant that comes in.
Right.
Like I said, it's long term for me. So I need to make sure that I's are dotted, T's are crossed. Plus, I'm anal with certain stuff. But the bad experience that I've had is that what I just told you is lipstick on a pig. Most just do the bare minimum to get a tenant in. They don't really replace. They just band-aid or repair.
If I could interject, the answer, property management is an issue.
Okay.
It is, good property management is an issue.
Okay.
It's 8 to 10% off your money.
So, yeah, like we don't have.
Yeah, but it's 8 to 10% out of your pocket too. So if you're getting
Right.
$2,000 rent, they want $200 a month. And if you renovated the property right, I'm not paying $200 just to have somebody in the middle. That's me, right? I don't mind picking a phone up, which I don't. It's automated. But if I did my renovation right, so I don't get phone calls that often, and when I do, it's nothing major, right?
Well, what about with people collecting payments and all of that
Online.
type of stuff?
It's online. It's enough apps and algorithms. It's enough where you
Okay.
can. It's all offset for me, right? I've been through the days of picking up rent and hoping they pay and all that.
We utilize technology now.
Yeah.
So
So how do
Zelle,
you get rid of
Venmo,
somebody?
huh?
How do you get rid of somebody that's trashing a property or they're not paying? Like when you go in that, you don't expect to get in a difficult situation, but what if you do?
Right. You
I
handle
mean,
it.
there's remedies. There's solutions. We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Don't let fear drive you.
No,
Yeah.
I just
What's
wanna
gonna
be
happen is
ready.
gonna happen.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
The best thing you can do is in the beginning. Renovate it right, vet the tenant. Don't be pressed for the first person that's coming and saying, oh, I love the house. You're supposed to, right? But you have to vet and do the due diligence to get the right person in. I try to deal with Section 8. My new baby is traveling nurses. You know, I'm dealing with COVID. COVID has well, I already knew, but COVID showed me even more that they can stop your money. Self-pay people lost their jobs. And you couldn't put them out. Even the court building shut down.
Mhm.
So I'm not chasing tenants or payments. I want easy money.
So Nate, why
Guaranteed.
you're primarily flipping now? Tell us why.
Yeah, so just to piggyback real quick on what Marquise was saying and Greg. So one of the advantages, and it all goes back to your network. So one of the advantages of joining a group like what Greg is offering is it can be overwhelming, as you can hear, like there's so many different things and everything. And you're like, I don't have a network. Well, a network. The advantage of joining somebody like Greg's group is you immediately get his network. So all of these questions that everyone has, you can really relax and put those to the side, because once you join a group, it's one phone call, you know, to Greg, and then he, you know, because you inherit his network. And so depending on what group you're looking at, that's another thing that you want to look at is, you know, really the bang for the buck is getting with somebody who is actually involved in doing the stuff.
Yeah.
Because, you know, one of the challenges with like coaching programs is that most of these guys aren't really doing it. They're just telling you, and then at the end they say, hey, go and find somebody who's really doing it. So I would just say, because I remember sitting in these seats and it can be overwhelming, but just relax and remember that all of these questions will be answered with, you know, whoever you're dealing with in their network. So that's number one. Number two, just in terms of flipping, rehabbing properties. So my particular strategy is I do everything, right? So buy and hold, flipping, and wholesaling. And the reason I would suggest as your career takes off, you try to do all of them is because there are going to be certain properties that you'll have access to that won't make sense as a rental. So like what Greg was saying, in this area, let's say the average is like 60 to 80 grand for profit. If you ran those same numbers and say the house is, you know, a $400,000 or $500,000 house, it might not cash flow.
It won't.
It won't. It's not going to cash flow. So that's saying if you're only looking to do buy and holds, you're going to miss a huge opportunity. And so that's really what determines for me, like to what Marquise was saying, you know, and I'll ask you guys, what's the difference between, you know, being rich and being wealthy? Yeah, right. So rich is the amount of money we make when we work for it, and wealthy is the amount of money we make while we're sleeping. And so the whole goal of all of this real estate is to be wealthy. We want to make money while we're sleeping. And to Greg's point, what's going to get you there the quickest? And so the idea would be that you would want to either flip or wholesale with the expectation that you're taking that money and investing it in buy and hold properties. Okay. So that's the bottom line. I don't think you have to, you know, be a one-trick pony and say, I'm only a wholesaler. I think everybody's goal in here is to say, I'm an investor. And being an investor, you'll, you know, flip, wholesale, and buy and hold. Okay.
And so is it for that reason that you're focused on luxury flips so that you can get that money and then invest it towards your future?
Exactly. So definitely one, and number two, Greg's talking about like luxury flips, meaning you have your first time home buyer. That would be like your entry level house. And then you have more of what we call like a luxury, you know, a luxury flip where it's probably like your third or fourth house and you're getting your dream house. And the thing is that we all have the same amount of time, right? 24 hours in a day. And so really one of the things that like the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book says is it takes the same amount of effort to find a deal where you're going to make 40,000 as you're going to make 400,000. So you really decide what you're looking for. And always remember, you get exactly what you look for. So agents here, if you're looking for listings that are going to give you a 3% commission on a $200,000 house, that's what you're going to get. If you're looking for $1 million listings, you're going to get it. Whatever you look for, that's what you're going to get. And just remember, it takes the same amount of time and effort to do it. So it's your choice. So to Greg's point, I prefer, and it wasn't always this way. I started off, you know, with some of the smaller rehabs, but then you definitely, as you get the skill set, you want to level up. And I would suggest that for anything that you're doing in life, that once you get the skill set, you want to optimize and capitalize on that skill set to get the highest return, you know, for the least amount of time, if that makes sense.
You're paying more money going in.
Yes and no, because real estate, one of the beautiful things about real estate is leverage, right? And everybody knows what leverage is. So whereas I'll just give you a quick example, we won't belate the point, but let's say we're cash buyers, okay? And let's say that the house is $200,000 house, and then we got to put $60,000 into the house. We're going to spend $260,000 in cash, right? And then we'll flip that house, and let's just say we make 60 or 80 grand. So we've spent 260,000 in cash to make 60,000. Now I can go to DC, and I no longer have to be a cash buyer, because you could still, say you're basically a cash buyer. What it really comes down to is how quick you can close. But you can leverage, and you can, let's say, buy $1 million house, and you put 200,000 into it. So you're into the house for 1.2 million. Okay. You can resell that house, let's say, for 1.7 million. And let's say after everything, all transaction costs, you walk away with $300,000. Okay. Here's the kicker. Most private lenders will only require you to put down 10% of the total project. So now that project that cost overall 1.2 million really only cost me $120,000. So I'm actually buying a better property, right, with less money than if I was buying in a low-end area. So do you see how leverage works? So now you've spent $120,000 and you walk away with $300,000 versus spending $260,000. And the only difference is that you're like, well, why wouldn't everybody do that? And the answer is that as the numbers get bigger, fear sets in. But if you remember what I said in the beginning, you hone your skill set of finding the deal, learning how, and then once you have that skill set, that's when you do that. So I wouldn't suggest you just jump out there right off the break. But like Greg said, we all sat in those same exact seats, and we all, every expert was once a beginner. So just remember that anything is possible, once you put your mind to it.
Well said. Any questions about flipping properties, you guys? We've all done it. I've had a number of projects going on at the same time. Again, it's risky, but it's certainly a huge reward to do that. Many moving parts, but once you master the process, flipping properties can be very lucrative for you. I think the question.
I have one question. Talking about flipping, have you ever done a tear down and build?
Tear down and build?
Yeah, the house is just so ratty that you may as well just tear it down.
Yes. Why are you trying to do that? Or
I came across one a few months ago.
Yes.
And didn't touch it.
Okay.
But as I'm thinking now, could I have?
Okay.
And I think he brings up a good point, you guys. You guys are going to run into opportunities, and you're going to think that opportunity may be too much for you. Make a phone call, because you can make a wholesale fee on that. And so a tear down, I've done plenty of tear downs. As long as the foundation is there, I'm good. And it's just the number. It's just real estate investing, you guys. It's just a math problem. It's a math problem. It's a word problem. The numbers just have to work. Now with that tear down, you just do the formula. Now you've got to have the experience and the wherewithal to do that. You got to go through a permit process, inspections, and all that. But if the numbers work, somebody's going to buy that deal from you.
Never, ever, ever let what you think is a potential deal go because you don't feel like you have the resources. It's an old saying, you don't have to have resources, you just need to be resourceful, right? So any deal that you come across, before you nix it off your list, give one of us three a call. It's only going to cost you a phone call, and you literally might be sitting on something that is worth potentially a lot of money. And you
just never know.
Yeah.
And then for you, let's say that he was able to call me. I go put that property under contract. He makes a $50,000 wholesale fee, but at the same time, he's following me throughout that 6 month to a year process. And so now he's also learning. And if he's a realtor and his wife's a realtor, she gets a relist. She gets to list the property. And so you just cost your wife. I'm sorry, Lauren.
Yeah.
Formula for repairs. Y'all have a formula for repairs, how you estimate repairs in order to do percent of the ARV less repairs?
And so there's really no formula. You've got to see the property. But as a rule, I tell my students, as a rule, if let's say you have an appointment, you've got to go to an appointment at 2:00 today. Nobody's around. Contractor's not around. Mentor, coach, nobody's around. As a rule, what I tell them is the renovation cost is 20% of the after repair value. As a rule. Now that's not hard and fast, but if you have to go to that appointment, you take 20%. That's why when I gave you guys a scenario of $300,000, I said $60,000 as a repair. That's 20%. Now, so here's the thing. Let's say that you use the formula, you use the 20%, you put it on the contract. If you use our contract, not only are there ways to get out of the contract if the numbers are wrong. Let's say then I go over to be the cash buyer and I see, oh, it's not 60,000, it's 80,000. And then now, because you used the right contract, now you've got time to renegotiate. You can renegotiate, and probably at least 80% of the time that I just had a deal on Newark Street. Was it Newark Street in Southeast, where I had to go back and renegotiate it, and I dropped the price 20,000. And so you're always, I call it the negotiation after the negotiation, but it's a renegotiation. So you can always go back and renegotiate. But don't miss an appointment, or don't go to an appointment or lose a deal because you don't know the repair costs. Just use 20% of the ARV. And then we can fix it from there. Get them on the contract. Your cash buyer, we can fix it from there. Generally speaking, as an investor, we want to spend around 20% for what I would call a sort of a regular renovation.
Right, just like paint, carpet, like regular stuff.
Cosmetic, of which you guys, when you're flipping, my recommendation is just doing that, just a cosmetic renovation initially. Just paint, carpet, kitchen, bathroom, and not even carpet, paint, flooring, maybe roof, maybe windows, but something that is just cosmetic. I wouldn't recommend getting into any like additions, things like that as a newbie, unless you partner with somebody with experience. Okay. So we say all this to build cash. Like, we want you guys to build cash. And so then the question is, what do you build the cash for? You are not wholesaling to go out and buy a BMW. Okay. That's not why you're wholesaling. You are not flipping a property to take all these wonderful vacations, and nothing wrong with any of those things.
Can't go to Greece, Greg.
You can't go to Dubai for the second time.
Unless you're Marquise.
And so we're investors, you guys. We're not consumers. We don't build wealth being consumers. We're investors. You can't be a consumer, but you got to earn it. You treat yourself to Dubai from your passive income. Now, and so we want to generate that passive income. And so the way to do that is taking what we just talked about, taking that money and invest it into residential properties, Airbnb, assisted living facilities, multifamily properties. That's where you start the process of building wealth. And then you've got to ask yourself this question. Number one, why are you buying and holding? Like why are you doing that? Why are you buying and holding? And then the next question is, how much buying and holding should you be doing? How much passive income do you want or do you need for your future? We generate passive income for building generational wealth. Most of you guys have children. You want wealth for your children, for retiring early, for just living a better life. That's why we want passive income. We get the passive income from your buy and holds. And so you need to set a goal. My goal for passive income has always been $100,000. And so $100,000 a month in passive income has always been my goal. And so I want passively to look in the bank every month, preferably on the first of the month, and I've got 100 grand in, okay? And or having $10 million in an annuity that's drawing, let's say 3%, and just living off that 3% every year, $300,000. That's always been my goal. The way I'm going to get to those goals is for me, it's through real estate and selling a business or selling my businesses. What you've got to determine for yourself and let real estate investing be the catalyst is for your passive income goals, for your retirement, for you building generational wealth. What are your goals and what do the numbers look like for you? And then whatever that is, we start with the end in mind. Whatever that is, okay, now we know we need X amount of properties, or X amount of passive income every month in order to get to those goals. And that's why we buy and hold real estate. And so we talked earlier about buying the properties, where we're buying the properties, what type of tenants we put in the properties. Marquis says that he now likes traveling nurses.
I love traveling. I love traveling nurses.
Why traveling nurses?
For traveling nurses work for me. I was introduced to them by another agent here in the office during COVID, right? I'm a proponent of Section 8 first and foremost, but traveling nurses gets me my money in bulk every 90 days. That's the typical stay for a traveling nurse, 90 days. And what I found from that is I'm not worrying about eviction. I'm not worrying about anybody destroying my property because they're traveling nurses from Oklahoma. You have to be centralized, technically close to within 2 to 3 miles of a hospital, right? So you have radiologists, neurosurgeons, the whole nine. One, they're furnished. So I give them furnished properties, TVs, Wi-Fi, whole nine. Long story short, they're just staying there for a period of time. And I'm getting double the amount that I would get, almost double the amount I would get from Section 8. That's a long-term tenant, yada, yada, yada. And they refer their own clients. So it's, before they leave out, they're like, hey, I got so-and-so, she's gonna stay here. Then I just rinse and repeat. So I'm getting almost $900 a room on a 2-bedroom apartment. So that's $1,800, where Section 8 would maybe give me $1,300. So extra $500. But they're not destroying anything. I'm not worrying about any eviction. And it's not Airbnb, so I'm not subject to the city or the state, the 90-day short term and this, that, and the third. And they're pretty much re-renting my property themselves because they're excited, right? I'm giving them flat screen TVs, I'm making it nice, right? But it's close, it's proximity. If it works for you, it works for somebody else. So they're telling their colleague, they're re-renting my rooms themselves. So I have three units that I've done that with. And the numbers, if you look at the numbers, it's crazy. Versus one tenant, 1,400, phone call here and there from time to time, and an inspection every year from Section 8. I know I got to re-roll the walls, tighten the toilet, and all that. These people just laying on the bed and working at night, coming home, sleeping during the day.
What's the demand and how hard is it?
High demand. I use a platform called Furnish Finders, right? That's the platform that the traveling nurses go on and find your property. They don't control any of your rent. They don't control the tenant, right? When you get that particular tenant, you're going to advertise on Furnish Finders. It's $100 a year or something. You're going to advertise. The more amenities, they have a map just to let you know what the going rate is. But when the person calls you this, they're interested in you, I ask them what's their stipend. Every nurse gets a stipend for traveling. And they're trying to just get something less than what their stipend is, so they make a couple dollars. Okay. So for me, I'm slightly below their stipend. So if they're getting 1,200, give me 8. If they're getting 1,500, give me 9. I mean, we're playing a game, but they tell that to you, right? Like, hey, what's your stipend for 90 days? 3,000. Okay, cool. Give me 2,500. Right? It works, and you don't have to worry about anything. And what happens is, again, it snowballs. You give them a nice place to stay, though, a nice room, a nice kitchen, granite, stainless steel, built-in microwave, amenities, right? Keurig, coffee maker. Sounds small, but they want these amenities, right? Okay. Nice towels, Egyptian cotton, all the stuff that makes a person like, I'm staying right here every time I travel. And better yet, I'm about to tell Nate about it because he's coming next week to pick up whatever they do as nurses. And then from that point, it snowballs. Yeah, that's the blessing. So it's 90 days up front. This is your rules, but I'm following what's already been done. This is not my reinventing the wheel. When you go on Furnish Finders, you can see what everybody else is charging, but I also get to see what they're offering. They're offering just rooms in the basement. I'm giving them luxury. I'm giving them nice.
So do you go higher than what the other people are charging because you have better amenities?
No, I don't. So hypothetically, I'm telling you 800 a room. Everybody else might be, because these people are not seasoned landlords or investors. They're a homeowner renting out the basement, right? I'm renting out a 3-unit, luxury, Ring doorbell, Wi-Fi cameras, giving them safety. They're ordering packages. They're living there in my house for 90 days, right? Or more. Sometimes it's 180 days, whatever they tell you exactly how long they're going to be there. But you're getting your money in 90-day spurts, right? So I'm getting paid twice for 6 months up front. No worries, no phone calls, no issues. And they just love it. And I found it to be not so much as better than Section 8, but for the areas that I have these properties in, they're requiring better tenants. And that's why I no longer purchase in those different areas. I'm in the more B+ neighborhoods, that homeowner blocks, if you would.
And you said 2?
Yes.
2 miles. What's the furthest away from the hospital?
So that's very important to the traveling nurse, how long I got to travel to get to work, quote unquote, right? Because again, they're working at night. They're worrying about safety. So I do Ring doorbells, cameras. Some are female, some are not, doesn't matter, but safety is important. They're ordering medical supplies and packages, right? So that's why I did the Ring doorbells. All this was learned throughout time, but this what sets my units aside from you just offering your basement, right? With a bed, and they're not, these are
How
humans.
do they normally get to work?
Uber, or they have a Zip car. You can rent a car. They're not from here, right? So typically if it's Zip car or Uber. So it's very important that you're within 2 to 3 miles or less than 5 miles, I would say, from a hospital, a major hospital.
You got a couple questions.
I'm actually a travel nurse.
Okay.
Stay by John Hopkins.
I'm sorry?
You have a property by John Hopkins or Alexandria?
One by Virginia?
Yeah.
No, Baltimore. I'm primarily in Baltimore, so I have one by John Hopkins and Mercy Hospital. I'm somewhere in the middle, close enough, less than 2 miles from Mercy Hospital. Are you a traveling nurse now?
Yes.
You looking for places? But you understand what I'm saying, right? Right. So you can. Gotcha. So speak to what you're looking for when you're looking for a unit, right? Because you're a female one, and I'm saying I'm not discriminating, but 90% of my traveling nurses are female. And then what I've seen in the comments and the replies that I get, because this is a tier-based thing, the more comments you see of people that have come, you move up in the algorithm. What sets you aside when you're looking for a place?
Well, I like that you have your like a single home, and I can roommate with other travelers.
Got it.
I've been, like you said, in the basement.
Yep.
So, or in the cabin.
Yeah.
So being that you have a home property that's more comfortable for us.
Exactly.
And more relaxed, and that's where we're going back to our home.
Yes,
Like literally a home away from home.
exactly.
Versus being isolated
Yep.
and uncomfortable.
That's the game changer for me. The roommate piece I had to learn, because when I purchased this one property, it was tenant occupied, which I don't really do, but I got it for such a great number. But I put everybody out and renovated, right? I had no clue. I was going to do Section 8, what I'm used to. But it's a 2-unit house that I'm working 3 units, right? I'm renting the basement. But the first floor is my traveling nurses. And now the apartment upstairs is my traveling nurses. But I learned that not just traveling nurses, but when renting rooms, they want their own bathroom. Everybody wants personal. So I gutted one of the bedrooms. Instead of it being a 3-bedroom, I have a 2-bed, 2-bath. They share the kitchen, but the amenities is what's attractive. The security is attractive. And again, it's their home. So it's been working great for me. I rinsed and repeated and done it 3 times. I'm going when I leave here today to meet Susan, has a 3-unit, the agent that's here, right in the community that I'm farming. I mean, that I love right now, which is Parkville. So if anybody gets a listing of property in Parkville, 21214, I'll buy it. Guaranteed I'll buy it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just have one question. Because I've experienced this. Do you all have like HOAs?
No HOA.
Okay.
So my price is my price. Let's just say I'm written for $897 a room. Done. If the next person that comes in, I might be $997 a room. If I got $897, the next one is $997. I do that because I cut the grass. It's maintenance free, right? So I'm playing with that a little bit. I'm covering it, of course, utilities, right? It's digital locks to get in the room, everything. And you'll get access to that for the 90 days while you're there.
Because I had experience where when I did an assignment, I rented out my RV camper to someone else.
Yep.
So I would like to buy a home in the future.
Yep.
And up here. So if I can have my camper to rent out to someone else and have a property with it.
It works as long as you're in that right location. My leases are not assignable. I assign them. So if you tell me, hey, I'm leaving, but Nate wants to stay, he's going to apply for me as well. Application, copy of ID. I vet the traveling nurse. Just because they're traveling nurse, I don't, But I need copy of ID in case there's any dispute, police, anything. You're in my home, right? So I get an application on everybody. I do that for multiple reasons. One, I'm an agent, so I can remarket to them to let them know about my units when I upgrade, when I do anything new, because they become my clients. That's what I don't like about Airbnb. Well, I don't know about that, but that's on their platform. I have my own platform that I draw down on. So if you're my client, I'm marketing to you as well. My tenants, I consider my clients, right? So I'm marketing to them as well on a regular basis, and I'm empowering them to bring me somebody else. And that's what's been happening. What's up, Bob? Yeah, 2. So it's a 3-unit. It's actually a 2-unit. If you roll past a house, you're saying that's a 2-unit. But I gutted and rented in the basement, 7-foot high, whole 9 egress window. I have a long-term tenant in the basement, which is Section 8. The first floor was a 3-bed, 1-bath. I gutted that 3rd small bedroom, made it a bathroom. So now it's roommate style. 2-bed, 1-bath. They have their own room, whole 9, because different renting rooms is different. Somebody might sleep at night, is up all day. Somebody's up all day, that's, whether it's traveling nurses or not. And the 1-bedroom apartment, I had a Section 8 voucher, but I chose to go traveling nurses once I saw these numbers.
Ma'am, are you okay with having a roommate?
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
they prefer it.
as a nurse, roommating is perfectly fine because we can actually talk about how our day went.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Socialize,
Yep.
help each other out. It's just more comfortable versus like a complete stranger
Oh, yeah.
roommating. That's
Right.
It's a game changer, Greg. I'm trying to tell you.
know that person.
I'm not convinced.
I experienced over the summer as to where I had another nurse. She helped me with all the personal problems I had at work. I was able to talk to her, and I was more comfortable doing more assignments that way up.
What about bathroom? Is
So
your
we had our
preference?
own bathroom.
Yeah.
You had your own bathroom. Is that your
major.
preference?
That's major.
Is that a deal breaker if you don't have your own
Me
bathroom?
personally, no, but other people are different.
And for a
They
landlord,
need to
yeah.
have their own bathroom.
Yeah. Because sometimes you get male nurses. I have a female nurse and a male nurse right now, right? I didn't plan it that way because at first I put in my ad male. I had the male first. So I put in my ad male nurse preferred. I was assuming that a female wouldn't want to rent a house or to share a room space or kitchen with the person, a male that they didn't know. That was just my assumption. But when the female came, she said, I just want to see the property. I know you have male prefers, want to see it. And she took it and then dialogue with me. He's a radiologist and she's something of another. But long story short, she works at night, he works in the day. They never really see each other. but she didn't have a problem because he also takes the trash out, you know, so it worked. I didn't think of that. So I removed that.
Do friends ever travel together? So like, if we have a 3-bedroom, most townhomes are 3 bedrooms, 2 full baths. There's gonna be a 3rd bedroom that doesn't have a bathroom. But you're saying maybe 2 friends might be willing to share a bathroom.
For example, I'm from North Carolina, I live 6 hours.
Okay.
So we travel, we drive. So to have a partner with me drive 3 hours,
Work.
I'm gonna ask someone, hey, do you wanna take this assignment?
Yeah.
And more than likely they're gonna say yes, because we're gonna share costs, put everything in half. As far
Okay.
as like driving, food.
Got it.
et cetera. Living wise, as far as meal, I did live with a meal chef, but it was different, because like you said, I work night shift, he was a cook during the day, I hardly ever saw him.
See, that's what works for me.
And last question, then we'll move on. How did you find your place?
I actually, it was one of my cousins, who's through networking.
Oh,
She
okay.
did a travel assignment, upstate New York, so they reached out to me.
See,
No, I was
Showed
saying
their
the,
property.
no, it's word of mouth.
just
because
the-
she-
They didn't have a website for that.
Yeah.
Oh, they didn't.
See,
Okay.
what helps, what I'm seeing is, I agree with what she's saying, right? Because what's happening is once they've stayed someplace, not isolating them as they, I've already vetted it. So when you trust me, she trusts her cousin.
Right.
So we're, hey, just stay right here at 3011 Glenmore. It works, right?
Got
They can't wait.
It's better than going to a hotel.
All day.
Like when COVID happened, they gave us all the stipends to go stay at a
Yes,
hotel. et
love the
cetera, et cetera.
stipends.
But you just prefer to be in a home setting.
it. In the home setting. Okay.
And your assignments are 90 days at a time?
I do 60 days, because I gotta go
Oh,
back home.
oh, 60,
but
okay.
sometimes you can, depending on your contract, you can ask for 90 days to 180 days.
There you go. There you go.
And you're okay with giving the money up front, like the whole 6 days?
Well, yeah, because
Oh, yeah.
when we get
Oh, yeah,
paid,
no, it works.
like right now, there's a strike in New York,
Mhm.
so they're getting $10,000 a week. So we tell them what we want as far as
You need
food.
to become a nurse.
Don't do that.
What we want for our pay rate. So they're gonna give it to us for that first week. So first week, they just go ahead and give away the money, and then the rest of the money is ours. So I'll pay for whatever, maybe $1,200 to $1,500 for whatever, I live in. You got your money the first day I moved in, or part of that Friday. And then after that, you don't have to worry about it, because my money already got you.
Okay, so can we draw the attention off of her for a second? She's just taking over the whole. Here's why I'm skeptical.
We're listening, Greg.
Yes.
Come on with it.
Here's why I'm skeptical. Because in my opinion, the name of the game for your buy and hold is having people in your house for as long as possible. The number one thing that's going to hurt you on a buy and hold is turnover, because turnover costs money. So you've got either days, weeks, or months of no income. Sometimes when you're turning the property over, you've got to do some things to the house. And so if you're turning the property over every 90 days, 6 months, it costs you money. My preference is to have a voucher holder where I know that I'm going to get my money the first of every month. And that voucher holder, I mean, we have one in Annapolis that's been there like close to 10 years now, or something like that, where I've had to do little or nothing. And so there's situations where your tenants almost pay for that property, and the maintenance cost is a lot lower because of, no turnover.
Can I combat that?
Well,
No,
Can I combat that?
no.
That's a flat thing.
Okay.
About having both, having the balance of the traveler nurse, but you might have majority of your buy and hold at Section 8 or something, so we're offset, maybe that grant with the extra money that's coming.
I mean, honestly, the answer is whatever your preference is. But for me, I'm too busy to have to go. Marquise stays in Baltimore, and so for me, I'm too busy to be running back and forth unless I had a property manager. I think that would be helpful. but I'm just too busy to manage every 90 days, you know, a turnover.
But let me speak to the turnover. You're right, with the turnover of a person living in your home as a long-term tenant, Section 8, you know you're going to have to turn it over. It is 25 to 3,000, right? But the short-term stay are guests in your home. My turnover is $250 to clean the whole unit, right? And it's not even every 90 days sometimes, but let's just go with $250 every 90 days. I'm about $750 a year. So a person is staying as a guest. They're literally using the bath, the bed, they're washing their own sheets and all that, but I'm putting new sheets, the comforter. So there's an expense, but it's not equal to a tenant turnover. Tenant turnover, I got to replace sometime towels, backsplash.
Yeah, but that's, I mean, you know, that's 5 years,
Yeah.
10 years.
I agree with you. And I'm not saying, for me, I have multiple units, so it's not, but these three are cash flowing equivalent, have exceeded Section 8 because Section 8 is monthly. I have to wait for the 1,500 to 1,700, whatever it may be every 30 days. I'm getting that money 90 days in advance times 3.
It's the same money. You're not waiting.
Right.
You're waiting to go into your computer or go on your phone and go into your bank account to see if it hit.
I'm getting it up front. So with that cash flow I'm getting up front, I'm reinvesting it in other properties. So in other words, I'm saying what you're saying is true, right? I have long-term tenants as well. And when they move out, I know I have to go in 3,000 to 4,000. I'm with you. But the traveling nurses are guests. They literally they're washing their own clothes and things of that nature. But when they move out, I'm sending my cleaning crew in. It's $250 to clean the kitchen, the bathroom.
That this concept is close, is
Dana,
because I read the program, veterans, battered wives.
Right.
It's similar. They're guests and they don't use the house the same way.
Nowhere near.
As your Section 8.
There's no holes in the wall.
When you let your family come in with them kids, them bad kids.
Yeah.
We're not doing that. We're not doing that.
He's not on camera. Come sit on the hot seat.
We are not discriminating.
What I'm saying is different, Greg. Is that you wouldn't know until you experience it. It's totally different. These people don't feel like that's their house. They guess.
They feel at home, but they are guests. And again, we're speaking of nurses, somebody who's a professional.
Yeah.
It's a professional. It's almost like when you go out of the country, you take your family, whatever, you stay in an Airbnb. You're in Airbnb. You're staying in someone's home. You're not in there banging the doors. And if you have, culture, couth or whatever, right? But the traveling nurse, I'm telling you, if you do the math on the money, it's different. And it's bulk when it comes in. And if you can't manage money, then maybe not. But every 90 days, you can take those funds. I got 6 units to prove it. And now go buy more property, rinse and repeat. Section 8 is long-term. I have both, such as what Kenya said. But if you look at a spreadsheet or do the math, I'm taking the 90-day bulk up front times 6. And that's why I'm hunting now for property. So anything in 21214, 21239, I'll buy it because of the quality of tenants, right? 2, and a mixture of Section 8's paying high in those neighborhoods as well. But I'm going with traveling nurses right now.
Do you take a small security deposit?
Yeah, 300. It's nothing. Because I know my tenant. My tenant is her. Look at her. So yeah, you all are saying that she's gonna tear my house up. I know they're working at night and sleeping in the day. Not everyone, but that's typically the schedule. And if they're roommates, they're not throwing loud parties. I'm getting no complaints from anything. There's no maintenance, repair, or call. I'm renovating right. What is the issue? I can see my house. I got cameras. Ring doorbell. It works. It works. It works.
So Greg, in my situation, he's dealing with the professional mindset. I'm dealing with people who've been on the street.
So tell them what you're dealing with.
I'm dealing with.
So they know.
I am renting to programs. Okay?
To veterans.
A lot of these people have been homeless and been in the shelter.
Yeah.
So when they come to a house,
They don't know how to act.
if you put the money in, it's nice.
Yeah.
They are just happy to be in a home. They're not tearing it up.
Exactly.
They don't want to get put out.
Yeah.
They scared to get put back
Yeah.
on the street.
They're appreciative.
So they are appreciative
Yeah.
with their head. That's another difference.
So they're gonna take care of your home as
Yeah.
if it was their own, and that's the goal, right? And I'm not condemning any about your holder or even self-pay, right? But that's a longer term play. I got tenants 6-7 years that's been there. I look to turn it over, right? Those properties, I wasn't putting granite in the property, so I don't have a built-in microwave in those properties. So that's part of the upgrade, which I'll get back when I get the new tenant.
Right.
Rents are high right now.
Are you putting granite in now?
Now I'm putting granite in.
And stainless steel?
Black. Mixed. Stainless steel, yeah.
Get
Give it
on
to
them, Jay.
Yeah.
We were supposed to be.
Oh, she's,
Although
Hey, he's done come a long way.
at
hasn't he?
Kipling, it has stainless steel and granite now too.
yeah. So it works. I'm telling you, it works. That I'm not here to say it should be your whole portfolio, but my portfolio is built off of cash flow. So the quicker I can get my money, I'm reinvesting everything right back in, rinse and repeat. So I'm not increasing my lifestyle. I'm not, this, that, and the third. If I can get my 90 days times 6 up front, oh, let's go. And they're re-renting it herself. She just said, how did she find her rental? Her cousin told her. I just told you that before I even knew she was a traveling nurse. My clients are calling me, hey, my stay or my assignment is up September 20th, but Nate's coming in. Is that cool? Cool. Tell Nate, call me, give him my online app. Let's go. Let's rinse it. All I do is send a cleaning crew in there. They're not breaking the door. They're not putting a hole behind there. If I got to roll a wall or two, so be it. But
And in my realm, I'm getting pretty much guaranteed rent because if they can't pay the program, it's gonna pay their rent.
and when is the last time you heard a hospital close? I'm trying to tell you, during COVID, and they increased the salary. See, I know that because I'm cool with one of my guests, right? She schooled me on, no, you need to do this, stop doing that, remove mail. We don't have because they're professionals, right? They work in the same industry. I'm not a nurse. I never worked in a hospital, but listen, the hospital don't close. That's all I want you to know. It don't close. It's 24/7, right?
For your rents and holds.
Yep.
What does that look like with a cash buyer? Do you have to pay them off right away? Do you refinance the house?
I buy
Pay them
cash.
off right away, or do you hold it?
I buy
a year?
cash. So I wholesale or sell, whatever it is, I want to own, right? The mortgage piece works for me. I understand the leverage piece, but I told you my story. I've been burnt, so I'm still a little scarred to part of my brain. I do have 2 mortgages, okay? But the rest I own free and clear, and I'm not changing that piece. So I go out and I'll wholesale a new deal for new money, but I'm not refine my portfolio.
Or use a cash buyer?
I'm a cash buyer.
So you use your own money?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
But for someone who don't have.
Yeah, you just
use
use
a
hard
cash
money.
buyer.
Oh, we're cash buyers. I'll buy
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So if I have a home that I want to hold and rent,
Okay.
and you're my cash buyer.
Yeah.
So what would that transaction look like?
But I can't help you on that.
With you,
I can't help you on that transaction. If you're trying to know how would you be able to buy it,
Yeah.
you can get a line of credit. You own a home now?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's multiple ways. And one of them, if you don't own a home, if you own the home, you can do a HELOC, home equity line of credit. But let me before I give you the ways, how well are you managing money? Because by you not having the money, you're going to have to go borrow or get the money. So that requires money management and understanding. If somebody gave you $100,000 right now to go do what you want to do, are you good with managing that money? Because it's one thing to get it, it's another thing to multiply it, right? You get it, leverage it, rinse and repeat. We're using these words, and I learned, right? I didn't know this in 2004. So I learned the hard way. I didn't learn from Nate. I didn't learn from Greg. In 2004, I wish I did. So that's why what he's saying, I can stamp it. Because again, I filed a Chapter 7 bankruptcy because I did it all wrong. I did it from YouTube and reading books and because of the climate that I was in an environment. But what I found was most important is not getting the money because banks will lend you the money. Can you manage the money?
So
$200,000.
you're saying to buy a house that you want to rent,
Mhm.
go through a bank?
No, you can go through me. I can help you find a house as a realtor. I can help you. Are you an agent?
No, no.
Okay, cool. I can help you buy a house. Place that you should own first, right?
Okay.
Once you own that property, is it just you? Because you can strategize and buy a 4-unit building with an FHA loan, live in 1 unit, rent the 3 out top. So I guess it's a matter of strategy of you got different plays that you can do if you don't have the capital. Definitely got to have the credit.
So let me just go over the process and kind of wrap all this up. And so we started off talking about wholesaling real estate with the end goal of buying and holding. And so your end goal is to buy and hold. Now I agree with what Marquise said. You should buy your house to live in first. But those of you who own your own home already, to build wealth, you've got to start buying investment properties to hold. The way to do that, if you don't have the cash to do that, or you don't have the equity to pull out of the house that you live in, we want to wholesale real estate. At the same time, we want to make sure that we're going to qualify for a loan when we do buy and hold. So we've got to take that money that we're either flipping or wholesaling, and start working on your credit, make sure you qualify, get with the lender, and you're going to take that money to then buy and hold a property. So that's how it works. The cash buyer is not going to buy a property or be a lender or anything like that for you. You've got to do that for yourself. Okay. And so that's what everyone has to do. You've got to start thinking about what do you want your future to look like? Like where do you want to be? Let's just say 3 to 5 years from now. Where do you want to be financially? Where do you want to be? And I think that wherever that is, that real estate investing can get you there. And we do have a coaching program that we're happy to help you out. Keith, you want to speak a little bit about our coaching program?
Just know, I mean, first off, everyone needs to be sure to fill out your survey. We are very conscious in having really good content for you guys. So let us know what you want to learn. Listen, now for the platinum coaching, we're going to hold your hand every step of the way and deep diving into these subjects, okay? And so I don't want to talk products and services right here and now, but know that we can set up one-on-ones with all of you guys, okay? So that we can kind of tell you where you are right now, where do you want to be 6 months from now, where do you want to be a year from now? So, you know, it's like I always like to give out dates. You know, right now it's the 11th of August. How are we going to finish the year? Are we going to come to these meetings every month and just listen but not take action? You got to take action, guys. So I'll be here. Let's have a sandwich and some chips and talk and maybe set up a meeting with me to get things rolling. It didn't cost you anything. And so as my brother likes to say, let's go.
And so Dana, why don't you talk to us a little bit about our coaching program and what that's done for you?
Well, about 2 years ago,
Why don't you stand up, Dana? Let the people see
I
you.
came to a meeting with Greg, and like you all, and then he had, what do you call it, the big event?
The boot camp?
The boot camp, and I decided to join. I paid attention, I watched him very closely, and figured I could trust him. So I joined, and one thing led to another. So what I did was I just paid close attention. I kind of latched on to Greg, and it just grew. And but you know, it's things that you have to know that are important, because I did this over 20 years ago and fell flat on my face, like my fuse was saying.
I didn't say I fell flat on
Well,
my face.
I fell flat on my face.
I'm messing with you, Dana.
And only because I didn't know. I didn't know what to do. I thought I knew what to do. I knew what I was hearing. I knew the little pieces I was gathering from different places, but I didn't have a mentor that I could just come to with my issues and my questions. So by joining this program, put it this way, if I had not joined, I wouldn't be where I'm at. So
I think that's the easiest way to get to where you want to go, right? You use somebody else that's already been there and done that. It's not perfect, but I know I would have been way further than where I am today had I had a mentor, coach, or the like, or again, network, right? So for me, the boot camp, just say Greg, I'm just using Greg as an example. That is the cheat code. I call Greg anytime, cheat, text, whole nine, because as you navigate and as you do things, you're going to run into roadblocks, right? And even if you don't know everything, what you want, and even if Greg doesn't, like Nate said, his network. I met Nate through Greg, right? But I didn't know Nate before then. And then I'm introduced to Nate's network for rehabbing. I call his brother often. His brother is on the construction side of his company. But when I run into situations, it's just association with the right people that can elevate you. You still got to do the work. You still got to take action, because these meetings, these boot camps, they go in one ear, we go outside and just be like rinse and repeat. Doesn't work. But I say that I wish I would have sooner, but that's why I'm telling you now today, it's a cheat code. It's an easy way to get where you're trying to get to faster than you trying to YouTube it, Instagram it, sidebar, talk to somebody, because nobody's going to spend that time. You know, I personally don't have that time, because I'm on go, right? But I'm on go for my goals. I'll help anybody. I'll give to anybody, but I can't stop because I'm not set up to coach you. I've had people call me after multiple meetings. Can you coach me? Do you have a program? No. It's not personal, but I haven't slowed down to design something because this takes time to learn. We're throwing around, leverage, asset, buy this to do that. It all starts to melt together because you need to be in a program that takes you from beginning to where you can get to that piece,
And I'd be remiss if, I didn't say a couple of words, because I probably met Greg maybe about, my memory's getting bad, but I would say maybe 5 to 10 years ago. And my life has exponentially changed.
Wow.
Dealing with this guy. As many of you know, real estate investors might not have the best reputations. And if you're able to find somebody who you can trust and depend on, you're not going to get, a better guy than this. His network is unbelievable. The amount of people whose lives he's changed. And, I would say this, when you're thinking about your life and your career, it's all about taking action and investing in yourselves. One of the things that you don't hear from us is how much money we've actually spent on coaching programs. And I know Greg particularly, and myself, and I'm sure even Marquise, like right now we have coaches. So we're paying our coaches, and the benefit that you ladies and gentlemen have, whatever program you go with, you get the benefit of our coaches. So it's like a streamline. And when I tell you the network is your net worth and how it will change your life. And when we look at our society, we have no problem sending our kids off to college, paying anywhere from $250,000 to $500,000. But when we look at our own selves investing in, a program that might be $1,000, $2,000, $10,000, all of a sudden we cringe a little bit. When in actuality, we just have it so backwards, because that $250,000 to $500,000 that we invest in college, the return is going to be a $50,000 to $60,000 job versus a $2,500 investment that's going to make you a millionaire. Like the math just doesn't even make sense. So, at the end of the day, I wish all of you guys success. Just know that we all were right here. And like Greg says, we're all just normal people that took action. My final little pitch to you guys is I started a little IG, I think that's what they call it. I'm new to the whole social media, but it's if everybody could follow, it's called the Over 50 Cheat Code, at Over 50 Cheat Code. And basically, I give free information. One of my passions is not only real estate, but it's optimal health. And I think that's another investment as a community that we really need to make. So if you guys get a chance, I would love for you to follow. We give a lot of free information. And to all my brothers over 50 who want to live a dynamic, healthful life, anything I can do to help you guys, by all means. But thanks for having me out here today as well.
Yeah, give these guys a hand. So the biggest thing I can say to you guys is let's not let this time, we've been here, an hour and a half, be in vain. And so we just have to take action. Everything that they said is just so true. I think lives change when we surround ourselves around the right people. And we've got to think big. You guys have more potential in you than you know. And that potential sometimes can't come out because you're around the wrong people. You're around the wrong people. And so what we talk about all the time amongst us is living better lives, building wealth for not just ourselves, but for helping each other and for our families. And we want you to be part of the family. And we want you to build wealth. You're not going to build wealth sitting idly by yourself, looking at YouTube videos, reading books, things like that. You've got to get out here. You got to get out in the field. You've got to talk to all the right people. Part of our coaching program is we get out in the field at least once a month and go look at properties. Dana bought, I think, at least one of his properties. We went out in the field to look at opportunities. He said, look, I like this one. I'm going to bid on it. And he bid on the property in Marshall Heights and won that bid. And he still owns that property. You've got veterans renting that out. A lot of overhead, right? They're moving out, moving in. And I'm just messing with him. And we have touched a lot of lives, and we want to touch your life. And so schedule a one-on-one with Keith. You guys should have all of our information. Utilize these guys. Like if you guys have a deal, pass it to me, Nate, Marquise. We'd love to help you. So that's all I have, you guys. If you guys have questions, we will be here. We've got food here. Give these guys another hand.
Marketing.
Huh?
You didn't talk
Oh.
about marketing.
I'll talk about marketing next time, but let me turn this
Oh. Thank you so much. This was good. Are y'all leaving right now?
No.
Or y'all hanging out?